My name is Matt Leonard. My day job is a financial advisor with Edward Jones, and my extracurricular activity is the privilege of being chair of the board this year for the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce. So I'm very honored to have that role, and happy to be here with you today as the moderator for the Business Breakout for the State of the Community 2020. So thank you everybody for joining us as we discuss the challenges and adaptations our businesses have made to react to COVID. For our guests, I recommend all of you to put your screens on speaker mode. If you're watching us on a computer, it's in the upper right-hand corner of your screen where it says gallery mode. It shows some little squares. You can select speaker mode, and that will allow you to see the speaker much more clearly, okay? Also, I'd like to thank our panelists for being with us today. If you have questions for our panelists, please enter those in the chat box. And if we have a little extra time at the end of the conversation, we will ask a few questions. Hopefully we'll have that time. And if everybody would do me a great favor, make sure your speakers are on mute so that we can really listen in to our speakers. I would appreciate that. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panelists. So first off, we have Jennifer Gottsman. Jennifer is the proprietor of the Beach Plum, 10 Leaf, and the Black Rail Bar. And if you haven't been to the Black Rail, it's phenomenal. Try the beet salad when you go. Amazing. Jennifer and her husband, Grant, moved to Carlsbad 33 years ago, and they raised 3 sons here. Grant worked with David Cohn while working on his business plan for 10 Leaf Fresh Kitchen. Grant shared his plans with David, and he invested in the concept and has been a partner with the Gottsman family and the primary financial backer since 2010. Jennifer and Grant now own 10 Leaf, Beach Plum, and the Black Rail, as we said just a few minutes ago. So welcome, Jennifer. Carrie Moore from Trove Marketplace is another panelist today. She is the owner of Trove Marketplace. It's a multi-dealer marketplace filled with a variety of eclectic shops located in Carlsbad Village. Carrie was the president of Carlsbad Land Solutions for 14 years, and she also owned Fancy Pants Children's Boutique. Carrie grew up in North County and has lived in Carlsbad for 20 years. She's married to the love of her life, Kevin, and they have 2 sons, 3 stepchildren, and a very fun-loving Boston Terrier named Jack Bacon. So, and last, we have Kurt Stocks from Legoland, California. Kurt is our new GM of Legoland, California. He joined us from Legoland, Malaysia, where he was also serving in a very similar role. He replaced Peter Ronchetti, who recently retired after 11 years of service to Carlsbad, California, to Legoland, California. Kurt is a native of Australia, and he began his career, we're all going to need to hear more about this, over a cocktail at the Black Rail. But he began his career as a professional rugby player, so I would just love to hear more about that. And he started his career in the health industry. So thank you to all of you for joining us today. So the first question to all of our panelists. 2020 has been a year like no other in history. A total shutdown of our economy, and then kind of a restart, and then kind of another shutdown. On the watch list, off the watch list. Let's have each of you give us a quick synopsis of your experience of that journey and update us on how open you are right now and in what ways. And we're going to start with Kurt, followed by Jenny, and then Carrie.
Thanks, Matt. Great to be here. Thanks to the Chamber for pulling the event together under tough circumstances. So I'm sure it's going to go really, really well. You know, for us here at Legoland California Resort, please excuse the pun, but it's been very much a roller coaster ride, as you might expect, since early this year. I think we've gone through lots and lots of phases. The initial uncertainty of the closure and what it was going to all mean in the bigger scheme of things was the initial hurdle we had to get over. For us specifically, we then moved to a phase of having to work really, really hard once the governor released his guidance or his roadmap for recovery and reopenings. We had to work really, really hard to move ourselves from the stage 4 reopening phase to stage 3. And that's, to be honest, where a lot of our time has been spent, mainly changing the perception of local legislators, county and state legislators in terms of what a theme park is and how we can adapt to be a safe environment for our guests and for our staff. And I think we've done a relatively good job on that. We then had guidance released, which impacted part of our resort. So we were able to consider an opening for our hotel and then an opening for our aquarium, which we did. That guidance then got rolled back in July. And right now we're sort of back to this phase of uncertainty. Fortunately, we've got some good guidance around what's happening in San Diego. We've seen a lot of other San Diego attractions, because of the nature of the licenses and the various accreditations they hold. For example, San Diego Zoo has been able to open, and they've done a really, really good job of their opening period. For us as a wider group of Legoland parks around the world, we've been able to open all our other Legoland parks around the world. And unfortunately, California is the only one that's currently not open, but I'm sure we're going to get there at some stage. We very much had to then, I guess, focus on what can we do, given the situation. Is there any opportunity for us to be open in some way, shape or form that could add value to our business and add value to the community? You may have seen the coverage in the media, or you may have even stayed with us yourself, but in recent weeks, we've opened the hotel, or both of our hotels, albeit without the parks open. That's been really good for us. We have some retail supporting that, and a little bit of the outdoor park experience also supporting that hotel experience. But we saw that as an opportunity to capitalize on some of the summer demand that we know exists. Something for families and something particularly for the local community, to really give everybody a reason to get outside or to get out of their house after a long period of lockdown. And whilst demand has been good, the demand is very much localized. We're seeing a lot of people that are literally driving 5 minutes down the road to come and stay with us for the weekend, just because it's something different. So, it's been nice to be open in a really small way. It's nice to be able to bring some staff back into the business. The reality is, though, I guess on a bigger picture, a lot of the damage for us has been done because we've lost our summer trading this year. We've had to delay our major project this year, which was Lego Movie World, which was the biggest investment that we'd ever made into the existing park. And we've delayed that into next year in regards to the openings. So the damage is done, but we're very much looking forward to 2021, and we're doing the best that we can at the moment for the rest of this year.
Thank you so much, Kurt. And Jenny.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, we are in the same position as Legoland, I would say, in that we do rely on the tourists, and we rely on the people that are visiting Legoland to, support us. Was last year, the end of July, we opened Black Rail with 2 full bars, which at the time seemed like a really good idea. And now it's sort of what were we thinking? But luckily we have this enormous patio, and we're able to use that and seat both Tin Leaf and Black Rail there. We've moved into the parking lot at Beach Plum and feel really lucky to be supported by our regular customers that have stuck with this whole time. Also, we're seeing, as Kurt said, a lot of people coming down from San Diego, from LA and Orange County, just to visit for the day or the weekend to have something different. Sorry, my cat's here. She's I'm visiting me at home. So we feel fortunate. It was very scary in the beginning, and now we see some sense of hope. Tin Leaf is actually doing quite well with a lot of takeout business, and so we're trying to expand that to the other 2 restaurants to help support us during this tough time. We feel very, very lucky to have the landlord that we have helping us. Vespar has been amazing, and the city of Carlsbad also with helping us expand our patio at Beach Plum out into the parking lot. And yeah, we just we're riding the ride and hope that it was kind of disappointing to hear that it's going to be another 2 or 3 years before normal, but we are looking for a hotel for Legoland to reopen so we can see some tourism dollars come back in.
Thank you, Jennifer. Carrie, you're up next.
Hi, thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay. So my experience has been a little different in the fact that we were deemed essential because we started selling face masks. I kind of had some intel early on that from some friends that live in Asia that they had run out of face masks there. And so I kind of had a gut instinct that I needed to talk to my dealers who I knew could sew and sew fast to get us some face masks fast. And so I did, and my one dealer who is in her 70s started sewing 12 to 14 hours a day for me. And we posted on our Instagram and our Facebook, and not 10 minutes later did we get the notification on the news that face masks were going to be required or mandatory. And in a 24-hour period of time, I got over 200 orders. So I put my private cell phone on our Instagram and Facebook and just had people texting me directly because it was such a need. People were very scared. So I had people coming to my house to pick up. I had people coming to the store, but what I did is I blocked the front entrance, and most of them would pay over the phone, or if they did pay at the store, I would take payment and then run it back to the register and then come back. I masked the Naval Hospital, the Carlsbad Police Department, city council members, nurses, people who literally just didn't have masks and needed them, schools who were open to essential workers that their children had to go to school so that they, you know, the firefighters, the paramedics, the doctors. And so that kept us going. It was a lot of work. It still is a lot of work. My dealer, who was giving me about 50 masks a day, working 12 to 14 hours sewing, just last week told me she's down to about 6 hours a day sewing for me. And every other day I get about 40 to 50 masks dropped off at the store. So people are still buying them. And now it's kind of more a fashion. Most people have them, but they do forget when they're down in the village and gonna go to a restaurant and they need them or they lost it. So they'll come grab one from us. Currently, we are operating at normal business hours, if not more. I post our hours 10 to 5, and there's nights I stay up until 10 o'clock at night, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I've got handles right across the street from me. And if you've been down there, you know that they have lines until 11 o'clock at night. And so I've been lucky with that Handles was able to stay open and kind of give us a little exposure. So I do adjust my hours. If the customers are still coming in, we will stay open. So regular business hours for us, if not even more, staying open later to accommodate.
Well, that's so impressive, Carrie. That is an amazing pivot. I mean, the speed at which you pivoted is just amazing. Kurt, Legoland is one of the largest employers in Carlsbad. How many employees would you usually have this time of the year? And where are you actually right now in light of the limited scale?
Yeah, sure. Right now, if we were to take today, for example, this would be the absolute center of our peak season, right at the end of school holidays, summer trading. We would be today operating a theme park, 2 water parks, an aquarium, and 2 hotels, we would have around 3,000 staff working for us at this time of year. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's a little over 100. We moved relatively quickly in March, and when we first shut down, and we moved back to, I think our lowest point we got to was about 75 staff across the resort, which was effectively leadership teams to continue to work towards opening, and then security and maintenance staff to maintain, I guess, the integrity of the resort whilst we were closed. Obviously, a lot has happened in the months that have gone on, but as things stand at the moment, we have a little over 100 staff working for us, and that includes those that are helping out in the hotel to get the hotel up and running. Unfortunately, it means that a lot of our permanent staff are still on furlough. It means a lot of our variable staff, or all our variable staff, are just not getting any hours at the moment, which they would normally rely on across summer periods. I guess the uncertainty over the extension of the CARES Act, which was really beneficial in the short term, the fact that that's expired and the uncertainty that exists there, obviously puts a lot of pressure on our staff that are on furlough or are relying on those additional benefits at the moment. As a result, we've actually started to bring some additional staff back to try and de-risk that situation for them on a personal note. So it's been nice to be able to do that. But all in all, we've got a lot of staff that we would desperately love to see their smiling faces again.
And then for our guests today who are listening, Kurt did about a 20 to 25 minute interview. It's listed on the Chamber's website with Carolina Albon, and he dove deeper into all the things that they were doing to support those staff members who had been let go. I highly recommend that video, and thank you, Kurt, for going above and beyond the call of duty for the people that you did unfortunately have to furlough. It's a model to follow. Jenny, with all 3 of your restaurants being located in La Costa, you must benefit quite a bit from guests who usually stay at Omni La Costa Resort and the Park Hyatt. Unfortunately, right now, neither of those hotels have opened. Could you comment on attendance, how attendance has been in July and August compared to what would typically be happening for you?
Yes, thanks for asking that question. I think the restaurant that's suffering the most, Black Rail, the most because of the bar emphasis and also just being a fine dining restaurant. We're probably down about 60% over prior year. Our first open, we were really counting on having a lot of, success this summer with, wanted to have music and, utilize that patio for that purpose, now using it to actually seat people and trying to just keep our paying our bills. In addition to the 2 large resorts right next to us, we do count on that. But then in September, late August and September, we see the businesses go back. And when kids go back to school, we see an increase in business flow from Viasat and Thermo Fisher and all the large companies that are located around us. And we haven't seen that at all. I would say Tin Leaf's about 40% of their business in catering, and that dropped off completely. We are getting a fair amount of takeout orders, but they're not large orders like we used to. We did teacher lunches for Pacific Ridge School 3 days a week, and that's not happening right now. And that was a big income generator for us. So as you can imagine, it's been tough. And then the other component, I would say Beach Plum, a lot of large parties on weekends, families and baby showers and weddings and things like that, that's totally disappeared. So that's where we're seeing the biggest impact in the loss of revenue for us. I hope that answers your question.
It's a tough question, so I appreciate your candor, and we're just hoping everything. I know earlier in the year when I had visited you at nighttime, I had to park almost near the movie theaters, and so I just hope it gets back to that real soon, and that irritation of not being able to find parking returns very quickly.
Well, now you can't find parking because we're using it as a dining area, but
That's
that should
okay.
change too.
That's okay. Carrie, you're up. There's, sorry. Carrie, your business is located right in the heart of the village on State Street. Obviously, summer would be a prime time for tourists at your shop. Could you comment? You talked a little bit about handles already, but could you comment more on the foot traffic and what it feels like down in the village right now? Maybe from the perspective of the other businesses?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a well-known fact that Carlsbad, especially the village, is a tourist destination year-round, and from people coming from all over, even different countries. We kind of see a flow, a lot of Arizona in the summer because it's hot. And then we'll get into, in the fall, we'll get into people coming in from Canada, Germany. We get a lot of people from Germany. This year, we're seeing a lot of people driving in from the Inland Empire, from LA, from Nevada, from Arizona. We've seen a few from Texas as well. And it seems like it's all those places where it's just scorching hot right now. So they're all coming to Carlsbad or to the coastal area to kind of get away from that heat. We do normally see people that come yearly, if not quarterly, to the same place. They have timeshares, and so they are used to coming in, and we see them, and they tell us, oh, we were just here 3 months ago, or we were here, 6 months ago or a year ago. We love your store, things like that. But like I said, right now Arizona's kind of dropped off the tourists from Arizona because they're back in school now. I do get a little worried going into September, October, because then we do see the tourism drop, a little because of the families not coming in. So we have seen it drop, but honestly, our sales are up from prior year, but we really do contribute that to we're more established now. We've been open for 2 years. We're getting repeat customers, repeat locals. The village is kind of moving down further with the opening of Campfire and the French restaurant and Handles, of course. And so people are seeing us. We're right next to the theater. And the fact that we did take this time to start our online shopping, our online store. So that's been big for us too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jim Desmond, Supervisor Jim Desmond had weighed in on the chat if everybody didn't see it, but I'm going to read what he said. Word from the county is that the governor will be coming out soon with guidance for another phased opening plan. We're hoping to hear more from the governor next week. So I thought that was important. So I wanted to throw that out there. So the next question is for all three panelists, and it comes from the perspective of your consumers. So with the adaptions that you have made in light of the COVID concerns, share with us how you think your consumers should feel while they're patronizing your businesses due to the adjustments that you've made. Why don't we start with Carrie this time, and then we'll hear from Jenny and then Kurt, please.
Yeah, we take our customers and ourselves and our family and everybody's family's health and safety seriously. So we mask up while we're at the store. And we sanitize our counters, our credit card machine. They only have to hit one button. And then we do sanitize. Any cash, we do still take cash. Any cash that we do take, we then sanitize our hands, and we do sanitize our computer system, our POS system. And so, I feel customers should feel safe shopping with us. I mean, there's really kind of minimal contact with us and our customers. They just, if they're paying by credit card, they slip it in and just need to hit one little button. And like I said, we sanitize that. So I really feel that they should be feeling safe shopping with us.
Thank you, Carrie. Jenny?
Yeah, well, we saw a lot in the beginning of customers not even wanting to come in. So we offered curbside service for to go and take out, which we still offer. But we're seeing more people that really want to get out. More people are, I think right now, are interested in dining in somewhere. They're tired of being at home. The feedback that we've gotten is that, we eat here because it's a clean restaurant and we know you're safe and you're going to do the right thing. So it is really important in the public's perception of how we're handling it and how we're treating ourselves. Our employees, again, are as Carrie said, are really important because without them, we don't have a business. We rely on them, and we also appreciate that they're going to take everything they've been exposed to home to their family. So we have to be really careful with our employees as well. It takes a little more time. It's not easy. It's not easy for a server to work a 6-hour shift wearing a mask, but we try to make concessions, every 5 minutes, go take a break, go in the walk-in, get some water, let us know if you're feeling lightheaded, because you do get fatigued from wearing the mask. But I would say, I think it's asked a little bit as far as public. They just get out, tired of it, and they're ready to get life back to normal. For us, it's difficult. We're not just monitored by the CDC, but also by San Diego Health Department. So we have to adhere by the San Diego Health Department's guidelines, and we've done that since we've been open. And so you add that to what the CDC requirements are, and it makes it difficult, but it's not something we're not used to. Sanitizing and keeping the restaurant clean and keeping employees away from handling food has always been something we're used to. So for us, it was just kicking it up a notch. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of that go away. I think you'll probably see masks in restaurants in the kitchen for quite some time.
And Jenny, thank you for bringing up that component and the conversation about your employees. That was great. Kurt, would you weigh in, please?
Yeah, sure, Matt. I think for us, there's three things I'll mention. First one is planning. I guess because of the global nature of our business that we operate in, we had, I guess, a bit of a view earlier in the year, January, February, that potentially we were going to run into some issues with this pandemic. And we got, I guess, a bit of a jump on everything in terms of establishing guidelines that we needed to work towards. Eventually, I guess, in the longer term, not necessarily foreseeing that we were going to have an extended period of closure like we have. We already had guidelines sort of established and ready to be in place. Once we sort of got into the closure period, we clearly realized that the guidelines themselves were not going to be enough. They were appropriate guidance for us in terms of reopening. But after undertaking a really detailed risk assessment, we basically pulled our business apart and rebuilt it. So every operating procedure that we have has essentially been broken down and reworked to fit our guidelines, adaptions to meet our risk assessment and provide a safe experience for our guests and for our staff. I could spend quite a bit of time talking through the detail. For anyone who's really interested, I'd suggest you jump onto legoland.com. There's a link there. It'll take you straight through to the headline changes that we're making, whether it be in the parks or in our hotels. I would just say that the headlines to it are very much pre-arrival communication for our guests. So we're going to be very proactive in terms of how we set expectations for guests in terms of what to expect as part of their experience, particularly those that have been visiting us before. That the experience will be a little bit different when they come back. We've got reduced capacity. We've got online booking. There's a lot of different things about our experience once we reopen that you'll see. Our plans, I guess, getting back to the original question about confidence, our plans, we've had the ability now to share our plans with the city, with county, with state legislators. Supervisor Desmond's on the call. We've spoken to him and shared our plans, and we've been really overwhelmed with the level of positivity that's come back for our plans. So that's been really appreciated from our perspective, and I'm sure that that when the community starts to come back to Legoland once the park opens, they'll see that we've delivered a really good product. The other 2 points I'll make note of is the fact that most of our experience is outdoor. Even a lot of our rides are completely outdoors, and we know that that's a big factor in the reopening process and keeping people safe. So I think guests should definitely take that into account. And then finally, from a staffing perspective, we already operate in an industry that has such a heavy expectation on health and safety for staff and for our guests. And we deal with a lot of children, a lot of really young children. So it's already culturally something that's hugely important to us and something that never, ever, ever gets compromised. So applying these new sets of expectations to keep everybody safe is very much an extension of a culture that already exists for us here in Legoland, California. So I think we're really much ready to go.
That's fantastic, fantastic. So it is coming up on 1 o'clock. They said they were going to pull us out somewhere between 1 and 1:05. I want to echo before, so start thinking of your questions and populating them to the chat. I'll be waiting for those questions, but while I'm waiting for a few questions, I want to echo, well, we just got the 5-minute warning. Just want to echo what the mayor said a few minutes ago about keeping it local and making sure that, we're doing everything we can to consider keeping those, some of those dollars in our community and supporting our favorite businesses and chamber members. Just give that some consideration as you're out there spending your food dollars and your, what limited entertainment dollars we can enjoy these days. But just keep that in mind, please. I don't have any questions yet. Brett Schanzenbach was talking about his 33rd wedding anniversary. I'll congratulate John Sanders, who's a chamber member who's listening into this for 54 years this week. Congratulations, John and Carol. That's just such a huge benchmark in a relationship, 54 years of marriage. So we'll get into question. I'll ask for a volunteer, whoever wants to go first. Without longer term plan, do you believe the current situation is sustainable without real cuts, furloughs, etc.? Do I have a volunteer?
I can say for myself, we cannot sustain this without some sort of a plan to get business back up to normal. We've talked about it, what we would do. We'd probably have to close 1 or 2 of the locations and then focus our efforts on the one that made the most sense. So right now we're breaking even. If we weren't even breaking even, we're losing money, but we also have this huge debt we still have to pay off for Black Rail, Beach Plum, and Tin Leafer, but we can't. Our landlord is taking a percentage of our sales, but they pay rent. Landlords also have bills to pay. They have expenses too. I'm not sure how long they're going to be able to do this to make it work for them.
Hang in there, Jenny. Thank you for sharing. That is really difficult. So thank you for sharing. Kurt, Carrie, would you like to weigh in on that question?
So I don't have any employees. It's just my husband and I that work there. And fortunately, we have not been ill, felt ill. If we did, obviously, we would go get tested and we would not come to the store.
Yeah, I think, Matt, if we look at from a sustainability perspective for us, look, we've moved relatively quickly and put things in place to, I guess, to allow us to sustain the current state, for probably an extended period if we need to. Look, I think the bigger impact is we understand, we're very acutely aware of our impact on the wider community here. Not only the 3,000 jobs, but the tourism dollars that we bring into the community, and it's critical for us to get open so that we can start putting some of those dollars back into the community. We understand that's priority. I hope that's being heard I know it's being heard at county level, but I hope that's being heard at state level as well.
Thank you, Kurt. So we're just a warning, we're probably going to get on this next question, we're probably going to get pulled out of the breakout. So whoever is speaking at the time we get pulled out, please don't take offense. So the next question is around testing. What is currently required, and would testing on a regular basis make sense for your business and your employees? Who would like to volunteer?
I'll answer that because we've probably got the most employees, I guess. Look, we've like I mentioned before, we've opened our other parks all around the world. San Diego Zoo's opened, and most theme parks in North America are now open. There are no reportable outbreaks that we've seen in any of our own parks. So I guess we know that our plans are working at the moment, and with the support of the community, with their behaviors, they do work. We don't have an expectation that we start proactively testing our staff before they come back to work, but we do train them, and we do have certified trainers on staff that if we do have any issues with guests or with staff, that we can work with the authorities to to identify any risk. But at the moment, there's no plan to test staff proactively.
Jenny, since you have a few more employees.
Yes, we have around close to 100 employees. We do temperature checks when they come to work, and they are supposed to be quarantined. They self-quarantine if they've been exposed, and then they have to test before they come back to work. So that's the extent of what we're doing right now. The rapid tests, I think they're getting better, and I'm excited to see about how that's going to work when we